When you have a sec, please rate and review us on Apple, Spotify, or whatever platform you listen on. It helps those who can't sleep throughout the night find us. Fear is an intensely unpleasant emotion in response to perceiving or recognizing a danger or threat. Fear causes psychological changes that might produce a behavioral reaction such as an aggressive response or fleeing the threat, fight, or flight. Everyone is born with two innate fears: the fear of falling and the fear of loud sounds. The rest is learned. So being afraid of the unknown does not come naturally to us. It's been taught. We were never meant to be scared of it. What if you decide to overcome your fear by taking it head on? Not only by being brave, but immersing yourself in spiritual practices that can expand your mind, eliminate your fear, and introduce the paranormal as a new light in the dark. Welcome to the world beyond the veil. This is Geist.
We, as a family, talked about ghosts a lot, weirdly. So growing up, the idea of ghosts was like a normal thing, but something to be scared of. Like, it was something I think my parents used. Maybe they thought it was a little bit funny, but to scare us. You know, if there was like a creak, it was like, oh, that was a ghost. Or, you know, like they were like fucking with us. So I grew up in downtown Toronto in a probably like turn of the century duplex in Little Italy. I don't think it was haunted. I was terrified of the basement. Parents collect a lot of antiques. They are really into taxidermy. So we have quite a like eclectic home that I think just naturally is a little bit spooky. There was one painting of this young girl, maybe like about 8. She's very pale, long blonde braids. And wherever you were in the room, she was looking at you. And I couldn't look at her in the eyes without just having the full body creeps. And honestly, my parents still have the painting and I can't look at it. I'm 40. When I was 12 years old, we moved across the city. I was looking through the newspaper, helping my parents find a house. And I found this house, the house we moved into. I found it in the newspaper. It was weird. I feel like that house picked us. And we went to see it and then we bought it. The realtor let us know that the previous owner had passed away in the house. Although I think the house did choose us, there was something unsettling in the house. On the second night that we were in the house, we'd unpacked, we were having dinner in the back room. We always had lit candles. We were sitting around, my mom, my dad, my sister. All of a sudden the candles went whoosh and went really high. And there was this mist above the table for a split second. And my dad and I both looked at each other with wide eyes and we were like, that was a ghost. It wasn't in your eye line, right? It was above the table and it was just fog, a little fog cloud for a second. It wasn't a candle thing. It was its own thing. My dad had an office in the basement. So he would work in the basement and late late at night and hear footsteps on the main floor walking across, even though everyone was in bed. You would hear the side door slam, even if it was locked. So you'd be like, oh, someone's here. And then you'd go to the side door and no, it would be locked. And there were parts of the house that the dog wouldn't go to. There was a night where I was home alone when I was in high school. And my parents had gone out. My sister wasn't there. There was like this manual timer on the oven. The max time that you could set it for, that was 60 minutes. So you couldn't do 2 hours. You couldn't time it for 3 hours. It was 1 hour. And I had gone to bed at like maybe 10 p.m. and I woke up maybe around like 1 or 2 to the timer going off, dinging. The only way that it could go off is if it had been timed an hour ago, but I had been sleeping. So that was like probably the scariest thing that happened and like the spookiest. And I just put a pillow over my head and wished it away. And then in the morning it was still dinging. So I went downstairs and turned it off. Yeah. So one night I went to bed and I recall waking up and feeling like there was somebody in my room, but I was in full sleep paralysis. And I was trying to scream, but I couldn't. Not being able to control any part of your body or yell for help. It was like a heavy feeling in the room. I've never had it since. It's not like I suffer from sleep paralysis. It was this isolated event in that home. While we were living in this house in high school, my sister got a Ouija board, which I was very against. This one time, it was a warning about getting sick in the house. She was specific about it. It was something with like gut health. Like, how do you get that from a Ouija board? I'm not sure. And then my cat got sick and died. She was quite old, but it was like, something to do with her guts. Then our dog suddenly got sick and died. And then my dad got like severe diverticulitis and was hospitalized and almost died. And this was all in a very short period of time after this Ouija board experience. I don't know who the entity was. I'm assuming it was the man who passed previously from an illness in the house, and maybe he felt like it was still his home. I think the Ouija board experience feels separate to me. Fast forward to university, I went to Dalhousie, which is in Halifax. Halifax is also very well known because of the Halifax explosion. When I was in my 4th year, I lived with 3 of my friends, and we were in a house right across from a cemetery. My bedroom was the first bedroom in the house. There was a sidewalk, a road, and then this huge cemetery. I was like sleeping in the cemetery, essentially. It was a little unsettling being across from the cemetery for sure.
Halifax is known to be a very haunted city. On the morning of the 6th of December 1917, the French cargo ship, the SS Mont Blanc, collided with a Norwegian vessel in the harbor of Halifax, Nova Scotia. The Mont Blanc, laden with high explosives, caught fire and exploded, devastating the Richmond district of Halifax. It injured over 9,000 and killed 1,782 people. Most of the unclaimed bodies were buried in mass graves throughout Halifax. Also, just as a fun fact, Halifax is where a lot of the victims of the Titanic found their final resting place.
I went to sleep and I remember waking up and someone was leaning over me and said, "Wake up." My eyes shot open. It felt like there was somebody in the room with me. And I heard it, it wasn't in my head. Like it was someone was leaning over me and said, "Wake up." You can feel when someone's looking at you across the room. You can most definitely feel when someone's leaning over you. I honestly don't think it was a haunted house. I think someone passed by and I couldn't sleep by myself in my room for weeks.
Camp Hill Cemetery was across from where she lived. It's the city's first cemetery, established in 1749. It had earlier been used as a burial place for military executions. The military graves at Camp Hill Cemetery, which are from both world wars, are scattered throughout. Soldiers were often woke out of a dead sleep by their commanding officers to go to war. Throughout her life so far, Renee experienced things that she didn't understand, but she knew that they scared her. This led her to investigate internally, and it led her down a path of understanding that she wasn't expecting.
Started doing yoga when I was 19. As a form of exercise, but also as a form of anxiety relief. Yoga is a really beautiful practice to kind of like bring yourself into your body and into your breath. So when I was working on a job, I met a new friend and her and I clicked instantly. She practiced something called Kundalini yoga, and Kundalini was something that I had always wanted to try. There was something very attractive about it to me. So Kundalini yoga is a school of yoga that's influenced by Shaktism, Tantra, schools of Hinduism. So basically, Kundalini focuses on the awakening of Kundalini energy, which is like the energy up your spine that is like life force energy. There's a lot of chanting and breath work as well as movement. So it really is like a mind-body connection to try and activate your energy and your connectedness to the universe and to other people. My friend invited me to go to this Kundalini retreat a couple of hours outside of LA. And it was with this kind of up-and-coming famous teacher named Guru Jagat. Never done Kundalini, and here I was going to a full 3-day retreat in the mountains and just going head first. Waking up at 4 a.m., doing yoga for the day, really going for it.
But then Renee encountered something she wasn't expecting.
I was in meditation, sitting in a room full of maybe 100 women. I felt very calm, centered, and grounded. This woman came and sat with me on my mat, right in front of me. And I can see her, but she's not there. But I'm seeing her in my mind and I'm feeling her there. But she was there, it wasn't bad and it wasn't, I don't know, it just was. She was sitting there on my mat, cross-legged, her hair up in a gray bun, and she was just sitting there with me. And that lasted I don't know, maybe 20 minutes. She was just there with me. And then it was done. But I could feel her after that for a little bit. That was kind of the first time where I'd had a prolonged presence with me. So when she was sitting on the mat with me, I I remember thinking this is pretty weird, like wondering what was going on. Like, who is this woman? Why is she here? Am I hallucinating? Like I feel like with all of these experiences, there's always an element of like, am I losing my mind? Am I crazy? I feel like it was like a calm experience. There wasn't fear. There was just like, I just knew she was there and like, that was okay. I do wonder why she did come sit with me. I'm not sure. I feel like maybe it was to show me that the spirit world doesn't need to be scary. Like it doesn't, we don't always need to be scared of it. I think that she was like a spirit related to that space. I told my friend right away and she was like, oh, like that's wild. The reason you're doing these postures and these poses and these chants is about connecting. I think what it did is it opened me up. I don't think Kundalini is a key to the spirit world. I think what it did was it opened up something that was already there for me. I don't think it removed the fear for me. I think it just showed me another side of it. Because what happened later was pretty terrifying. I started doing Kundalini, not really thinking about much more than this was like a really nice practice that made me feel good. I can really feel my energy. Like I can feel how big my energy field becomes. It's like it's very physical. Even though you can't see it, there is like this weird, like tangible, energetic element. Since starting this like Kundalini journey, the relationship with the spirit world, the other side, has definitely become a lot more apparent. Not everything is what it seems. I think there's a lot more going on. I literally went thinking that this would just be like a calm, like grounding, maybe like a nice outlet for my spirituality. And like, meanwhile, it sent me on a roller coaster ride. I go to New York on a business trip with my business partners. Found this cute little Airbnb, 2 rooms, maybe 4 floors up, right on Bowery. We dropped our stuff off. I got my own room. My other 2 partners shared a room. We went out for a nice dinner, went out with some clients. We all went to bed pretty much right after we got home, maybe around like 11. I was really tired. I was expecting to just fall right asleep. And meanwhile, I'm laying in bed and I'm tossing and I'm turning and I'm like, I just feel so unsettled. Once I acknowledged that I felt unsettled is when I started to feel like I wasn't alone. Talking about this still makes me feel nauseous. I was like, maybe I'll just go to the bathroom, take a little walk, try to like shake it off. I get out of my room and I have to walk down a hallway to get to the bathroom. I get into the hallway and I feel this like blanket of heaviness. Like just this very, very tangible, energetic, like heavy feeling. And I feel like I'm almost brought to my knees with a nausea. I start like feeling really, really anxious, like I need to leave. Like I have this dread that I don't think I've ever actually felt, that I need to leave this place. And then I just start picturing like blood everywhere. And talking about this makes me feel really emotional. You can't see any of this. You have these things that are happening to you, but you can't see them, is when you're like, well, am I losing my mind. But then I start getting these shivers. Full body shivers over and over again. I'm freezing. My jaw is chattering, and I have never seen my arm hair stand up like that before. And I'm scared. So I go and I wake up my business partner, and I tell her, I'm like, I think there's something going on here. I don't know what it is, but like, it's telling me that we need to leave, and we can't leave because it's like 2 a.m. We're in downtown New York and we have nowhere to go. And she looks at me and like sees I'm chattering, like I am uncontrollable chatter in my jaw. And she sees my arm hair on end, and it's like not going away. She's like, okay, let's turn on the TV. Let's try to calm down. None of it goes away. It's like the chills and the hair on end is like just staying there. And so she gets me a little bit of Ativan. She's like, okay, if this is anxiety, like I'm going to give this to you. You'll feel better. I take it and it does nothing.
The experience in this apartment starts to escalate.
We're sitting watching TV, and then the toilet starts flushing. And it flushes over and over and over. And it's not like a running toilet. It's like someone's flushing the handle. And I went into the bathroom and I jiggled the handle and it wouldn't stop. For some reason, it doesn't seem like the scariest part to me. The feelings were the scariest part. And she's feeling part of this too, and then seeing what I'm going through. Choose a random baking show, and it's like a baking show where they're like making cakes inspired by like a horror film or something. And then we do this with 2 different shows, and they're both like murder related. That was really odd. The shivers and that all kind of started to dissipate as it got closer to like light. Once it was like 6 or 7, we packed up and we left. And then I did some like Google searching afterwards to be like, is there a haunting there or like something? But I couldn't find anything. But all I found was that it was near the area of like where the whole like gangs of New York kind of thing was.
Renee's investigating didn't stop there. She couldn't shake the experience she had, and she was about to find out why.
When I left, yes, I left that dread that I felt there, but there was something that stayed with me. I think I tried to ignore it. I had been seeing an energy healer, so I messaged her telling her my experience, and she put me in touch with a shaman. Like 5 days after I got home from New York, I went to see this shaman. I told her about my experience while she was like tapped in to my energy. The shamanic work that I've done, you do journeying. So this woman did a journey with me to see like what had happened and if what had happened was still energetically with me. She said, the energy is still with you. It's a young girl, and she was murdered in that apartment. It was really sad. I think what I had felt was the dread that she felt with her experience. And I think why she came to me was she wanted help. I feel sad about it. So the shaman and I helped her realize that she had passed, and she helped her pass over to the other side. What was hard for me to let go of was the trauma that I had felt. Like her trauma was imprinted on me, and it was really hard to let go of. So I started doing a lot of work. Like I started seeing a lot of people, I started having sessions with this man who was definitely a psychic medium, but also a therapist. And he said to me that I would look back at this experience with this girl and I would thank her for coming to me. But I agree, like I am thankful. It started me on this trajectory of like spiritual exploration I don't think I ever would have done, or it would have taken me decades to do what I've done over the last 5 years. And it's my choice whether I want to have that as part of me in this life or not. I think there was a point where I was really scared of the spirit realm. When we look at things with fear, that's because of a narrative we've given it that's based in our conditioning. So if we're scared of ghosts, it's because there is a narrative there that we've been told to be scared of it. And trying to figure out my place and where I fit into this like web of life. Because I think there's a lot going on that we don't understand, and maybe that we put up blinders to. I think we can all feel the energies, I think, to different degrees. It's just whether we're open to it or not. I think something to take away is that once we leave our bodies, there's more. And I think it just opens up this whole can of worms. Like, what does it all mean? I think to dismiss that there could be more going on than meets the eye, whether that's ghosts, aliens, like, I don't know, maybe there are other things we have no idea about. I think to dismiss that is pretty closed off, considering we only use a small portion of our brains. This isn't just a ghost story. Starts as a ghost story, but it's actually about my developing spiritual journey. I'm still on this roller coaster. I have not been able to get off. And I know you're in the ghost story telling business, but I think that that's only a part of this story. I'm still scared. You know what? And I say that so matter of fact, but like, I'm still scared. I'm not trying to scare you, but I hope you are a little scared.
A very special thanks to Renee for sharing her story. If you have a story you've been hiding, submit it to us at hello.geist.podcast@gmail.com. Both written and recorded submissions are welcome. Geist is directed and edited by Danielle Matar. Original music and FX by Beau Jensen. Mixing and sound by Adam Esker. Geist logo is by Jake Carruthers. Follow us on all social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, sleep tight.